Sometimes in a Major League Baseball game, a moment arises where the clear answer is a team needs to go old school.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Jeff. He's Steve. And on today's Locked On Reds podcast, we're going to talk about these brand new City Connect uniforms that the Reds have a little bit later on in today's show because Steve and I both like them quite a bit. In just a few minutes, we will look at the bullpen and just how good it has been, and we will really break down the most trustworthy guys. Spoiler alert, there's quite a few of them. But we're going to begin with the emotions of the series finale between the Reds and the Giants because the Reds fell 3-0. They only had one hit. It was P.J. Higgins. There's your analysis for the day. Not a great day at the ballpark for Elly De La Cruz, where he hit into a double play in an inning that looked like things were building. And then in the very next half inning, he created an error that then gave the Giants 3 runs. So all of that being said, there was much more to this game than meets the box score because it was about the fact that the Giants retaliated for something that Spencer Steer did the night before by hitting him in his first at-bat. And then the Reds later on hit Willy Adames. You can debate if it was retaliatory or not. Sal Stewart got mad at the end of the game. Everybody was mad, Steve. And when it comes to this philosophy, it's a little bit foreign in today's ball game as opposed to where it was, say, 30, 40 years ago.
This is very interesting because I'm going to get to have a shout at the clouds, get off my lawn moment today. We're going to go reach way back. We're going to talk about baseball as it was in the 1980s. We're going to talk about how things get handled. And just as an aside, first of all, Elly De La Cruz's deal in yesterday's game was your fault. You talked about his positive play defensively at shortstop. You conjured the return of Elly, the error machine. And you did this to him. Here's the deal.
See my Twitter
a lot of times, exactly. A lot of times in baseball nowadays, we see all of this chirping. We see all of these players acting out. We see all of these guys acting a fool. And there are sometimes we encourage that. We reward that. Oh, look at the emotion. And there's a lot of times we're like, why is this guy acting like this? And it has a lot to do with whichever team's acting up. Here's the deal. Baseball used to police itself. And those that are in charge, the powers that be, decided we can't have guys out there throwing at each other. We can't have people getting the Bob Gibson chin music because they're no longer throwing, 85 miles an hour. They're throwing 102 miles an hour, and someone's going to die. And those are all valid points. But every once in a while, you're going to have to let these players regulate themselves. In case you missed it, because the Reds took it down. So I grabbed it from another source and I have it shared on my Twitter X, the actual video clip of what Spencer Steer did. Can't use the language here on this family-friendly show, but I will tell you that Spencer Steer stood in the box, looked directly at the mound and said, F you, throw the effing ball. The pitch comes in, Spencer Steer delivers a single and embarrasses the heck out of the pitcher on the mound. That's what Spencer did. This all following the late timeout granted that ticked off. Was it Burkholder? It was Burkholder, right?
JT Brubaker.
Brubaker. So Brubaker is the guy. He's ticked off about the timeout being granted. Spencer then talks a little smack at him and then delivers and backs up the smack. And his little feelings got hurt. He was a little wounded. So the Giants came out, and clearly it's not maybe, it's not potentially, it's not possibly. Yeah. They came out and drilled Spencer Steer in his first at bat. The most guilty parties in this entire situation are the umpires, because you had to be under a rock to not know what went on the game before. You had to be oblivious. So when Spencer Steer gets drilled, the umpire's handling of the situation was to step out in front of the plate, as they do when there's a hit. Spencer Steer did not glare, did not talk smack, did not charge the mound. He walked to first base like the professional baseball player that he is. Connor Phillips comes along and is absolutely going to hit Willy Adames. That's what you do. That's how you handle it. That is old school baseball. You have to do it. You have to do it. Here's where things jump sideways. What should have happened at that point is the umpire should have then stepped out in front of home plate, issued warnings to both dugouts, and that's why this was put in place. Issued warnings to both dugouts because now you've hit a guy. That's enough. We're going to go back to playing baseball. You have policed the thing. Let's move on. But they didn't do that. Instead, they immediately knee-jerk reaction eject Connor Phillips, giving a competitive advantage to the San Francisco Giants versus how things should have been handled. We need to get back a little bit to old school baseball, Jeff, because what we have done is we've eliminated the consequences in the game. Guys get to chirp, guys get to act a fool, guys get to talk smack, guys get to do things like in this instance, bean Spencer Steer. But if everything after that now you get held accountable, then the guy that actually committed the initial crime doesn't get any punishment. So let's go back to the old days and let these guys duke it out a little bit and self-police and take the umpires out of the equation.
So I agree with you that the umpires really messed this one up. I thought that they should have issued warnings after Landon Roop hit Spencer Steer because Landon Roop was dealing. No. He pitched a really good game. And at that point, it was clear it was intentional.
I've got to push back because you're right. And it was clear. But if you issue warnings at that point, you still have let the Giant. It's the same effect as what they did by not issuing the warnings after Connor Phillips. You let one team get away with doing what they want to do, and you punish the other team if they do anything in response.
I hear the vigilante justice side of this, but I believe that the best revenge is pitching well. Like, just go out and just get the guys out. And in the case that this whole thing started, JT Brubaker getting his feelings hurt, just throw a better pitch and don't give up a hit. And then you don't get all mad about he's getting time and all this other stuff. And the whole series of events that is set in motion because the setup, man, I don't even really know what his role is with the Giants. Whatever. JT Brubaker, former Pirates starting pitcher. Now he's a Giants relief pitcher. That's where his career's gone to. And he's all butthurt about a single that Spencer Steer hit into left field on a Tuesday night in a game that was already decided. So, okay, sure. He's all mad. But, like, Chase Burns didn't come out the very next inning because here's the thing. Connor Phillips hit Willy Adames like 5 innings later. This wasn't right after Spencer Steer got hit. This wasn't like at the point in the game where you're just like, okay, this is a fight. The Reds knew that this was going to happen, that the umpires had lost control of this and they were liable to just throw out the next guy that hits a guy. And so, like, Chase Burns don't do that. And Chase Burns was pitching well enough. He didn't need to do that. But Connor Phillips on the other side of this is an effectively wild pitcher anyway. Like, Landon Roop was dealing and he hits Spencer Steer. Connor Phillips has been known to walk 4 guys in a row. So it's not like we're talking about this one dude that has the immaculate control that it's obvious that he's throwing at guys. Like, I think that.
So are you trying to hypothesize that Connor Phillips did not hit him intentionally?
I don't believe it was intentional because at that point it was so far past. Willy Adames already had 2 at-bats between then.
That's like, Jeff, that was the strategy. You're absolutely right in that they told Chase Burns, you do not go out there and retaliate. Somebody else will handle this. That doesn't put additional pressure on this bullpen. You go out there, Chase Burns, and pitch your game. And we're going to regulate. We're going to regulate this later in the game.
Because at this point it was 3-0. So the Reds were already down 3-0. So it's kind of like, well, if the game's already lost, let's go ahead and hash out our little vigilante justice here. But
I think that I'd be curious. I want everybody to get in the comment sections today. You guys have been on fire in the comment section for weeks now. I want to know. In fact, we need to put a poll up somewhere, Jeff. Make a note. I want to know, did the Reds need to regulate there, or is Jeff correct? Should they have just gone out and pitched their game and not worried about it? Because I believe baseball lacks some policing right now, and it needs to come back.
I just think it's funny because, like, at the moment when Burns was pitching to Adames in the next inning following the Steer hit, Jeff Brantley was talking on the radio of, like, get ready for it, it's coming. And then it didn't happen. And what happened was they were even, Tommy Thrall was doing the play-by-play of this, and he even noted that Willy Adames looked very uncomfortable at the plate, as if he expected it to happen. Because as Jeff Brantley says, you don't retaliate with the first guy at bat. You retaliate with the guy who's done the most damage against you. and it's Willy Adames in this lineup. So that's why it was Willy Adames that they hit. And I understand that the drama side of all of that. But in my estimation, him hitting a little nibbler that got picked up by Matt McClain and thrown to first base, and Willy Adames got to go run back to the bench, I'd take that all day over Willy Adames standing on first base, trying to steal second base, being a guy that could be on base and score, over, yay, we hit somebody. Just pitch well. That's all I want to see.
Got to regulate, buddy. Got to regulate. I'll say this, Jeff. I like seeing the fire in the Cincinnati Reds. And before we get out of this into the next segment, I would love to know what was being said. It's between Sal Stewart and the guy at the end of the game. I love that. I love the fire. I love the energy. This Cincinnati Reds team is pretty close to breaking out.
It's going to be a fun year.
Energy's there. The fire's there. It's coming, folks. This team's going to break out. Get in the comment section, though. Tell us what you think about this conversation today.
Yeah. Coming up next, let's talk about something that has been amazing so far this season. The Reds bullpen, because there are multiple guys that you can trust as we move forward. The NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters. Every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. When it comes to the NHL playoffs, Game 7, baby. That's all I got to say. And just like performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too. That's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters most. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. It works fast, often in about 15 minutes, and it can last up to 36 hours. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rugiet, performance medicine for men. Workplace chaos. You got deadlines stacking up. You got your inbox overflowing. And that one position that you have to fill, it's still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location, and so much more. So you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of today's show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on Locked On Reds. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Everydayers, we can't tell you how grateful we are that you are here at making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day, and making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network in all the land. Now it's time to elevate your game just a little bit. You can become part of the Everydayer Club. You can get ad-free Locked On Reds over in the audio feeds. Just go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. $5 a month, $50 a year. You get an exclusive ad-free audio version of this show, and you're going to get access to the Discord servers, not only for this channel where Jeff and I are talking ball along with Tim Daniel, but every single host, every single show, the entire Locked On network in there for you to talk ball with. Check it out today, the Everydayer Club. Link is also down in the show description. All right, Jeff, as fun as that last segment was, and I can't wait to read the comments a little bit later when people get a chance to hear it. We need to talk about the Reds bullpen. We've talked about the lineup. We've talked about whether or not we can trust the power. And then, of course, they get shut out after we have that conversation. Right. That's our brand around here. But there's a lot that you can believe in on this team. The bullpen is pitching very, very well. In fact, the bullpen is one of the best bullpens in the National League. Is that something you can continue to bank on? Can we trust the results we're getting from the Reds bullpen? Because I think we can.
Yes, I would have a hard time saying that I can trust them being the best ERA bullpen in the National League, but are they going to be top 5? Without a doubt. this group is so deep, Steve. And as of yesterday, with a couple of appearances from Sam Mull and Brock Burke and Connor Phillips, pretty much everybody in the bullpen has at least 9 appearances, except for Tony Santillan. Tony Santillan only has 8 appearances, which I love that. And seeing how they're all being used, it just underscores the trust that Derek Johnson and excuse me, and Tito have in that group out there in the pen, that if they need an out right here, they don't have to rely on just one guy. We've got multiple different dudes that they can call on.
Yeah, you look at those numbers, and here's the most important part of those numbers, I feel like. That is incredibly even load distribution. Everybody's getting the same amount of wear and tear spread evenly across this bullpen. And what that means is all of those arms are still going to be available September. All of those arms are still going to be available October. They're going to have something left in the tank. You know, what we saw at the end of last year when the Reds kind of stumbled their way into the playoffs, courtesy of a little luck and a little bit of the Mets being the Mets, a lot of guys didn't have any gas left. That's just really where things were. And I think it's going to be a very different story for this pitching staff heading into October baseball this season. I love how Derek Johnson and Tito are managing this. You keep paying attention to those games numbers, those appearances throughout the course of the summer, because I think there is a concerted effort on the part of the Reds coaching staff and their manager to make sure that that load distribution remains even keel level so that guys are available at the end. And I think it's tremendous that they're paying attention to that this early in the season. Far too many times we see teams and coaches and front offices lean into, well, you know, it's April. It really doesn't matter all that much. It matters. Every one of these games matters because you're talking about what's left at the end. So I love
the David Bell philosophy.
Correct. It was absolutely the David Bell philosophy. So I love that they're paying attention to this now because it's going to matter later.
Yeah, and I think that the important part to note as well as we talking about, you know, keeping guys fresh throughout the rest of the season, there was an update on Emilio Pagán yesterday during the broadcast, and they said that he threw a bullpen session early on Thursday morning, and everything was good because he had felt like a tweak in his hamstring, but he didn't feel a pop or anything like that the other night when he finished up the save against the Giants. And so when he threw the bullpen session, everything was good. He didn't feel it again. And so they feel like he can go when they get into Minnesota. I don't know that even if they had a save situation, he would have pitched today, but that's fine. Like it's good to hear that there was a good update on him. And I don't think that Connor Phillips is getting suspended or anything like that. So they're not going to be missing key members of their bullpen for multiple days here, which is a good thing. But going back to something that we said in spring training, this to me is so key for Tony Santillan because I think it is clear that he is the most valuable dude in this bullpen and that he is the guy that you need in the big situations going down the stretch in September and Lord willing, once they get into October, that you cannot have him still throwing 80 ball games in the regular season this year. It's got to be much less than that. I don't necessarily know that it's got to be cut in half or anything crazy like that, but like if we're more into the 60s, then I'm going to feel a lot better about where Tony Santillan is headed into the stretch run, because even through these 8 games that he has pitched, at least according to Baseball Reference, which really relies on the win probability added statistic to calculate their wins above replacement number, he has the most WAR in the bullpen, according to Baseball Reference. And I think that he was the exact same way last year because he is the guy that comes in the highest leverage spots all throughout the game, and he shuts the door. And so he's going to need to be that guy down the stretch, and you don't necessarily want him to be pitching in those tight situations right here about, you know, April and May.
Yeah, the way the bullpen, the you know, the trust factor, the most reliable guys, you know, Connor Phillips still scares the crap out of me. There's just no other way to put it. Like him coming in, whichever one you're going to get.
The ceiling is high, but where is the floor? We don't know.
If you're the guy that knows where the pitch is going, I love that guy, but sometimes that's not the guy that comes out of the bullpen. I will tell you how happy and excited I am for the successes we've seen out of Tony Santillan, to your point, and then also what we're getting from Graham Ashcraft. Those two guys being being
so good.
The nails of this bullpen is amazing. Graham Ashcraft becoming the reliever that we thought he was going to be when the Reds decided, hey, you know what, we're putting him in the bullpen. You know, this where he's getting now is who we thought he was going to be right out of the gate. It took him some time to get there and make the adjustments and do some things. But when he comes into a game now, I have faith that he's going to come in and get that big out. He's going to put out that fire. He's going to put a stop to what's happening. And same with Tony Santillan. Those two guys, you know, if I'm ranking reliability, if I'm ranking my Steve's personal comfort factor when Tito's pointing at the bullpen, it's Tony Santillan, it's Graham Ashcraft, and then it's Emilio Pagán. That's my order of guys that I think are going to put out a fire. And I love that there's that many options.
And I low-key think I think that back-to-back days sort of like wore on him, and especially with the error from Ellie De La Cruz, we didn't see his best stuff on Thursday afternoon. But I think Brock Burke deserves some run in there, especially in the top four. You could kind of argue right there with Emilio Pagán. Pagán, it's interesting because they noted this the other day on the broadcast that both Pagán and Santillan started the year with a little bit less velocity on their fastball. And remember, we said we were more so concerned about Santillan's decreased velocity, but Pagán had it as well. And so we were wondering, is that, an underlying thing of something larger? And they said that's not the case. In fact, that's part of the strategy, is that they're coming in, they're throwing their secondary stuff more, using the fastballs to set that up. And then as the season goes along, they will ramp that velocity up. We've already seen Tony Santillan do that. And I believe that we saw Emilio Pagán a couple of times in his last outing do that a little bit. Hopefully that wasn't the cause of the hamstring, but again, it was a hamstring issue, not an arm issue. But hopefully we continue to see that velocity tick up a little bit more, because certainly a 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Emilio Pagán is far less daunting than a 96, 97-mile-an-hour.
Yeah, I thought Cowboy did a really good job on an early season broadcast breaking down what the Reds' strategy was with bringing this bullpen along, getting them ready for the season. And he said outright that Pagán and Santillan were both kind of delayed about 2 weeks in what the Reds did with them in Goodyear intentionally, that they wanted them to ramp up slower based on just the sheer amount of work they did in 2025. I love the strategy. I think it's going to really pay off. And just a note on Pagán, Jeff, I'm going to put this out there just like I did when Jonathan India hurt his hamstring. Hamstrings are notoriously tricky to deal with. If I were in charge during this Minnesota Twins series, Emilio Pagán would not pitch unless it was a crisis. If it, like, there's nobody else available kind of crisis, I would let him sit multiple games before I run him out there again. It is encouraging that he threw that bullpen and felt okay, but we all know that pitching on the side, pitching in the bullpen, pitching simulated, pitching anywhere besides a big league mound, the pitchers pitch differently. And I would like to see them avoid having Emilio Pagán really ramp it up for another couple days, just in case. We'll see how it plays out.
That's a good point, because when I think about the long run of this bullpen, the best version of it down the stretch has Pagán, Santillan, Ashcraft, Brock Burke. Hopefully Caleb Ferguson is going to get here at some point. And the guys that we've already seen as well. Like, I mean, Pierce Johnson's looking better and better each time out. I think we are going to continue to see this group really anchor the success of the staff all season long.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Pierce Johnson has really slid nicely into that role of lower leverage, middle of the game, just kind of come in and get things done. You know, he had that rough first outing where unexplainably he decided to just throw fastballs. I don't know what that was all about, but every outing after that, he's brought that hook that we kept hearing about, curveball, that people just seemingly can't hit. And he's had a lot of success. You know, you mentioned the stats earlier. He's been in 9 games, 7 1/3 innings worth of work, striking out 9.8, walking 1.2 per 9. He's been really, really effective in this lane they've found for him.
And more than a strikeout per inning as well. So I think that there's so many options that Terry Francona and Derek Johnson have out there in the bullpen. And that's going to be so key as we move along, because we all know it's so easy to complain about a bullpen I think it might be kind of difficult this year to complain about the Reds bullpen because they're going to be good.
Absolutely. But listen, Jeff, let's talk about something fun, because you and I have been saying for years the Reds needed some fresh new looks. They needed to change the threads up just a little bit. And we didn't get a complete uniform overhaul, but we got City Connect 2.0. We like them, and we're going to talk about them coming up next. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You are not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and can help you cancel the ones that you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so that you can actually see where your money is going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of your incoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
You can keep the conversation going with us after the show is over on social media. You can follow me at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs on X and TikTok and Instagram, all that stuff. You can follow Steve at S. Offenbaker with 2 Fs over on X. And you can follow the show at Locked On Reds everywhere you get your social media. All right, Steve, when it comes to uniforms, I definitely think that you're more into uniforms than I am, although I do agree we could get a reset here soon. We could use a nice reset of the main ones. And as you don the cap of the former Cincinnati City Connect uniforms, which they still wear on Friday nights, I think it's funny. I remembered hearing some rumblings about new City Connect uniforms and what they could be, and they're going to get rid of the ones that they had and replace them with the new ones. No, now they just have 2 City Connect uniforms, and the all red look that they have created is just so nice. I'm all in on it. I love the way that the uniforms look. I'm actually looking to get myself one, although they're like more expensive than other ones, but I love them.
They are. I have ordered one. It is on its way from Cincinnati to Hawaii. I can't wait for it to get here. As far as the jersey goes, I had that made and sent out to me. The hat, I'm trying to come around. I know you love this. I threw the hat on just for a visual reference for while we talk about this. But the City Connect C, I guess it's growing on me a little bit. I wasn't a big fan of it at first. I think it looks great on the jersey though. The City Connect 2.0. I love the all red look. I love leaning into the Reds and the things they chose to highlight in the uniform itself. They put out the thing where you're like, this represents this thing. This other thing over here represents that other thing. I like that the Cincy logo that's on the City Connect 1.0 is above the little tag on the new jersey, so it's still represented. Fountain Square is represented on the patch. I really love how they've kind of pulled it all together. And the City Connect 1.0, the all black, it was something different. It was, a complete opposite of what they do. It was an attention getter. I thought of all of the first versions of all of the City Connect jerseys, I thought the Reds were one of the better ones. I thought they did a really good job. I thought they ranked pretty highly in all of baseball. And I feel like with 2.0, as you look at the new things that are coming out, I think they might have been the best of the 2.0 bunch that came out. Now, the other cities are going to come along. Maybe there'll be something better. But of the 2.0 versions that are out there right now, I think the Reds are the clear front runner in what they were able to do. The look, I think, represents the team. It fits you. You turn on a game expecting to watch the Cincinnati Reds, and by God, that's what you're going to get when you watch this team on the field. I know there are people out there that don't like the red pants, and I do. I like the all red look. A couple of the players were rocking, white cleats with them, and I thought that really kind of popped nicely. I thought it was a really clean, nice look. I think the Reds did a tremendous job with this. You talked in prep about not liking the simulated vest that they're highlighting, that the pinstripes of it all are supposed to look like a vest. And I'll tell our listeners, like I told you, the reason they did that, The reason it's a simulated vest is because that's where Kroger pays to put their patch. The advertising goes on the sleeve, sir.
Gotta pay the bills. Yeah. I get it. I understand. I do love the pinstripes, though, bringing those back.
I do too.
Every so often I flirt with the idea of getting like an old mid-90s Reds jersey because I love the way that those look. I know that you can still go on Fanatics and get like a Deion Sanders one. I don't know that if they have any other ones besides him, but no, like the pinstripe look is super cool. And the overall all red look to me, I agree. Like I always kind of felt like the script Reds red jersey kind of missed something a little bit. And I think that this fills everything in, right? You're wearing that on today's episode. I thought it's okay, but like this new City Connect jersey kind of feels like it is a complete jersey.
This looks like a softball jersey.
Yeah,
That's really what the thing is. It looks like a softball jersey.
The script Reds jersey.
It doesn't. The script Reds. It doesn't quite hit. You're absolutely right. I think the City Connect red, all red, hits much better.
Yeah, I still say they should have went with like the really old school look and had the cigar pocket and all that other stuff.
Oh, I love bring back the rotating historical jerseys like they did in the 100.
That was such a fun year.
So good, such a good season of just different looks throughout the year. Bring that back. Do that all the time.
I mean, there's 162 ball games. You could fit one in every so often. It's not like it's gonna be that big a deal. And
there's cost involved, I know, but you can auction them. They can go and grab bags at Reds Fest. The team will get money back. Like it's not that big of an expense to do.
100%. But yeah, I'm definitely in. I'm going to have to get me one of them hats, get me one of them jerseys. Looking forward to it.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. We will be back in your feeds next week and over the weekend if anything big and exciting happens that we need to jump back in the feed for. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you click that notification bell. Tim Daniel will be with you all weekend long live on the Reds Postcast after each and every Reds game. Jeff and I will be back.
CJ Bumgartner from Locked On Twins joins us tomorrow to preview the series.
God, it's not even Friday, Jeff. Oh, my gosh. I'm here. I'm ready for the weekend. Yeah, we're doing a crossover with the Twins. Yeah, that's in your feed tomorrow. Then you get Tim Daniel. Click subscribe. We're going to be in your feed a bunch. Until then, we'll keep gathering up the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, and the information. And hopefully Jeff can shake that cough to keep you locked on Reds every single day.
One day I'll be able to breathe again.
It looked like you were going to die there for a second. I had to keep filling.
Glad that you were able to. Oy.